our own Melanie Newman catching up with a few reporters to preview the National League West. Here is their conversation.
The Dodgers a strike away from a championship, from a proper celebration. Start the party, Los Angeles! Your Dodgers have won the World Series!
That's it! It's a World Series win for LA! They've done it! They finished the job and give Los Angeles the parade it's been waiting for!
Oh my, world champion!
Well, it's hard to forget that the reigning champions are from the National League West. They're looking for a repeat in 2025, but not if the rest of the division has anything to say about it. As we continue to celebrate Women's History Month here in March, we have some amazing women who cover the National League West. We've got Kirsten Watson, the Sportsnet LA Dodgers sideline reporter, Annie Hilbrun, the San Diego Union Tribune journalist for them. Susan Slusser, of course, is the San Francisco Chronicle senior beat reporter, and Jody Jackson, the Diamondbacks host and reporter. Ladies, I love having you here. And as we go around the table, obviously, Kirsten, we have to start with the Dodgers because they have the crown on their heads right now. But those are big expectations. They won the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes. You're on the heels of Ohtani. He could be back on the mound again. How do they handle all this? Take us inside camp.
Yeah, well, first I should just say the energy in camp has been electric. Obviously, this is a team coming off of winning the World Series. They're coming off of a very exciting offseason, whether it's been trades, acquisitions, signings, things like that. So there was a lot of excitement coming into this year. There was also a lot of guys who were battling injuries late in the year. So whether it was surgery for someone like Shohei Ohtani on that rotator cuff, Freddie Freeman having to have ankle surgery. So guys were still kind of working their way back to full health. But it had to be at a little bit of a faster pace just because, again, this year is opening earlier for the Dodgers in Tokyo with that series over there. It's been excitement. It's been kind of focus, lock in. Mookie Betts has showed up excellent, now moving full-time to that shortstop position. So everyone's in a really good spot, but they know that, yes, there is a target on their back, but they want it. I think they want to repeat more than ever, and you can feel it just around Camelback Ranch and the clubhouse, how the guys go about their business every single day.
Now, not to be outdone, we've got to take it to Annie here with the Padres. They got tired of being the little brother that was just south of the Dodgers, and we have seen them really expand over the last couple of years, pushing those limits. We've seen the heavy slugging lineup. So what are we expecting from them in camp?
Yeah, absolutely, Melanie. I mean, this is a team that was heartbroken over losing to the Dodgers in the NLDS. They thought that they had the team last year that could go all the way and win it all, and we know how that ended. The biggest thing for the Padres is going to be not focusing on the Dodgers. They're very aware of what the Dodgers did this offseason, and also that the Dodgers have won the NL West 11 of the last 12 seasons. But the Padres need to focus on themselves, and even if they don't win the division, they've got to just try to get in the playoffs, and then anything goes. Now, they did lose some production this offseason. Jurickson Profar to the Braves, Kyle Higashioka to the Rangers. They lost Donovan Solano and David Peralta, and A.J. Preller's been having to get creative while working within some budget constraints. So he's brought in guys like Connor Joe, Jason Hayward, Yuli Gurriel, Jose Iglesias, who are competing with guys like Tirso Ornelas and Eggy Rosario, Oscar Gonzalez, for some spots that are in flux. DH, left field, their bench, their bottom of the lineup, and especially their catcher position, where they really don't have a dominant number one. But they feel like they can get some high upside from these players, and they fit the Padres team very well as far as chemistry. And that's something that Mike Schultz started building last year within this team. They are a very aggressive team. They focus on the little things, base running, defense, what they call Petco Park offense, which is gap-to-gap, line drive hitting, just passing the baton, not necessarily trying to play hero ball, but putting pressure on the pitchers. And they're getting back at their core players who are healthy. Manny Machado is a year removed from the elbow surgery that really bothered him last year. Fernando Tatis Jr. said he feels better than he has in years. They've got Luis Arraez, who won the batting title last year with a torn ligament in his thumb. He had off-season surgery, so they're excited to see what he can do healthy. And Jackson Merrill is back for his second season after a really good rookie campaign. But there's no doubt that they're going to need those superstars like Fernando and Manny to perform like superstars, and they're going to need more from guys like Xander Bogaerts and Jake Cronenworth if they're going to go where they want to go. This division is one of the best in the league, but they are feeling good about the fact that they've got some consistency and continuity heading into this season.
Now, Susan Free, we're going to go north here with this one. The Giants, we've seen them. You just heard some big names there from Annie, and it seems that San Francisco, if they're not landing them, it's at least very known that they are making bids in the offseason. So what are we looking at for the Giants this year?
Well, Melanie, the Buster Posey era starts, so almost anything the Giants do all season, one way or another, is going to be interesting. I think he has talked about pitching and defense, which in a division with high-powered teams like the Dodgers, the Padres, now the Diamondbacks, is probably the way to go, and maybe not that surprising from one of the great catchers all time. So you'd think then the Giants prioritize pitching in the offseason. One problem is they lose their probably best starter, Blake Snell. He opts out, goes to, of course, the Dodgers. So the way they replace him is with Justin Verlander, who is 42, but he's one of the all-time undisputed greats. So if he, he's coming off a down season, he had some injuries, he's looked really strong this spring. So pitching and defense is going to be an awful lot of defense. So they go out and sign Willy Adames, and that sort of changes things potentially. They've got one of the best left sides in the game with Chapman and Adames, and up the middle, they've got Jung-Hoo Lee back in center, which is huge. That's almost making a trade in itself, having him back. For the lineup, he's going to be hitting third, and of course in center where he is very good. And they've got Patrick Bailey, a Gold Glove winner, behind the plate.
I love it. It's going to be an interesting one, and definitely I love that you mentioned Buster Posey because it's not on the roster of players, but he's a player still making a difference. Now we're going to get out of California here for a minute, if you can imagine. Jody Jackson with Arizona here. This was a team that was left to watch the Braves and the Mets decide their fate. They were so close, and it ultimately didn't happen. Susan just mentioned it, a big splash with Corbin Burnes. What else is going on for the Snakes?
Yeah, Melanie, thanks for bringing that up. That was excruciating on that final day, just having to hope that that would happen, that they would get in due to the Braves and Mets faltering there. And this team, this Diamondbacks club last year won 89 games, so 5 more games than 2023 when they only won 84 but went to the World Series. So this year, you're right, Corbin Burnes is the game changer. I think it surprised really everyone in baseball. The one thing we had been hearing, though, rumblings that Corbin Burnes wanted to play in Arizona, wanted to be an Arizona Diamondback because of his young children. And, he found it very tough after, as you know, being over there with the Orioles and having to get back for the birth of his twins in the middle of the summer, and just all of the things that, of course, line up with being a dad and being able to be home. And the Diamondbacks have seen that over the years, guys that want to play in Arizona where they can offer, spring training and year-long baseball. But the difference is, since going to the World Series in 23, we're seeing a caliber of a player or a pitcher like Corbin Burnes, go ahead and do that. And so 6 years, reported $210 million coming over to an already pretty stacked pitching staff. We've got Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez was a big signing last offseason. He was injured. That they added Jordan Montgomery, who has not actually looked good in his first start out here. That it's a surplus really of pitching now because you have Brandon Pfaadt and Ryan Nelson, 2 young pitchers that pitched very well. So right now that looks very stacked, but the Diamondbacks coming off that World Series run, they found that there are more injuries, and it's something that players talked about. How do you avoid that? It's hard to tell. Merrill Kelly, who had really never had an injury like that, he did not come back till August. Eduardo Rodriguez did not come back also until August. And so much like the Dodgers in a way, you look at them trying to stack that pitching so that they can get through the season. They also added AJ Puk last year at the trade deadline, so he helps on the back end. But Corbin Burnes is the guy that really has everyone excited. You look at the Diamondbacks as a top 10 team as far as payroll goes now. So Ken Kendrick, Derek Hall, this ownership group, they realize what they have right now. Attendance was higher last year coming off that World Series. There's a lot of excitement here in Arizona, even though, everyone knows what they're up against in the LA Dodgers, but again, you just got to take it game by game. And then for the offense, it was the highest scoring offense in the entire league. More runs scored last year than the Dodgers, than the Yankees, than any other team, which is crazy to think about because Corbin Carroll got off to such a rough start. He was kind of slumped. It was a sophomore slump for him. Christian Walker departs for the Houston Astros, which is a blow. Christian was such a great Diamondback, great defense, power back. So there's a lot of excitement here in Arizona with the addition of a couple of guys in Burnes and Naylor, but a really strong core group.
I love it. And I think you mentioned it perfectly. As tough as last year was, it put the baseball world on notice, that 2023 run that they had. We know that the best continues to come out of the National League West, though, and that obviously includes all of you amazing women. Again, Kirsten, Annie, Susan, and Jody, thank you so much for giving us a little preview here of what's going to be going on this year. It's so great to chat with all of you again.
Awesome job, Melanie and friends. For more Women's History Month content surrounding the fantastic women in and around the game of baseball, stay tuned to MLB Network all month long and follow along with MLB Network and MLB.com.
Craig Kimbrell is going back to the Atlanta Braves. Ken Rosenthal. Ken has a new profile pic. He hasn't alerted me of that. It needs to be cleared with me. But he put out this tweet, Kimbrell heading back to where he started, in agreement with the Braves, minor league deal, sources telling The Athletic. And then Jeff Passan following up with this tweet, Craig Kimbrell's minor league deal with the Braves will pay him $2 million in the major leagues. A source telling him Kimbrell is expected to ramp up for a few weeks and, if all goes according to plan, join the Braves' big league bullpen. And he, of course, credits Ken with being first. Kimbrell has not pitched with the Atlanta Braves since 2014, but he left quite a mark when he left Atlanta. 186 saves. That is the most in the history of this tremendous franchise. They do have Raisel Iglesias, an all-star accomplished closer at the back end. What do you make of Kimbrel going back to Atlanta in this current form?
Well, I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome for him. I think it'll be great for Braves fans, too. But, also a chance for Kimbrel to kind of find redemption, too, a little bit. Last year, he did okay over the first half of the season with the Orioles. But then in July started to, have some hiccups, a couple of back-to-back blown saves and ended up getting removed from that closer role. But he's still, even though his velocity isn't like what it used to be, he still has swing and miss stuff, above average swing and miss stuff between his fastball that has good ride at the top of the zone and a really good sharp breaking ball. So it's just a matter of him being in the zone. That's always been kind of his thing, like being able to command the ball in the zone, limit the walks, which in turn will help limit the damage, and trust that, his stuff is still able to get guys to swing and miss in the zone.
It'll be interesting to see what his role is specifically. As we mentioned, Iglesias is there for the ninth to get those final 3 outs, but where does Kimbrel go before that? It'll be interesting to see how they use it.
It'll be interesting to see. It'll probably depend on, a lot of it on performance. I mean, that's one of those things when you're a reliever, it's a volatile, position in the back end of that bullpen. Typically, the manager's going to ride the hot hand a lot of the times. But he still has good stuff. You're talking about a guy that's 5th all-time in the history of baseball in career saves. So he's on the highway to the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. He is one of the dominant closers of his era. Kind of big picture, I think that division, the National League East, it's going to be like a triple threat match. I don't know how many wins it's going to take to win the division, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's less than what people think.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to beat up on each other a little bit. The one thing is they don't have to play each other as much with the schedule change from last year.
Yeah.
But it'll be for some great games over the course of the year between the Braves, the Phillies, and the Mets.
Yeah.
And seeing which team ends up, being able to withstand the injury bug and also get hot at the right time.